Josh is one of those people. My life's better every time we get together. That's
Likewise, I appreciate it.
yeah. He kind of lifts and inspires just by doing what he does. Josh was a elite military guy. I mean, disciplined military service side of the fence, as it were. And then he became a monk and went off to India, Tibet, wherever you ended up, Josh.
Parts unknown.
Yeah, and became a Buddhist monk of the highest order. And that's not just two stages of a journey. To this day, you know, me knowing Josh, he's as likely to vanish. I'll be like, where's Josh gone? Oh, there he is. He's running up a mountain. And literally, he's just gone running up a mountain. And then he's going to parachute off the top of the mountain, or he's going to go skydiving or paragliding. And you know, and he'll do that on as a daily habit. But by the same token, you're as likely to find him sitting by a lake meditating, or sitting in a cafe having a chat with someone about whatever's going on in the world. And the point is, so many people in life today are polarizing themselves, creating fences, putting themselves one side of it, and maybe demonizing people the other side, but also getting very entrenched in that identity of their side of the fence. And I think a lot of Josh's power and magic comes from you don't have to self-identify as this or this or this. You can just kind of celebrate and elevate everybody where they are, and you know, you can be different sides of that fence. The fence doesn't have to exist. I don't know if that's a fair way of introducing you, Josh, but it's so important to me today, seeing the things that I see and
Right.
the conversations that are going nowhere, where someone has created this imaginary division and spends half their time just criticizing everybody the other side of a division that didn't actually exist in the first place. And so yeah, make of that as you will. But Josh is awesome and inspiring, and I just want to kind of hand over now.
Fantastic, Ed. Look, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I see the same kind of things in my approach. You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I suppose in terms of what we're seeing in terms of culture and politics, and, you know, the birth of AI and all of the, I don't know, the worry or the drama about that, you know, the approach I've always taken throughout the years, throughout the decades now is just, you know, do right by yourself, do good things for yourself, do good things for others, keep your orbit small, and don't worry too much about all of that stuff that's, you know, far away. And we're going to touch on a lot of that actually with this holistic high performance idea. That's a little bit of a rebrand for me. It's something that I've been doing all the way along, but under different guises and under different brand names. So kind of a little bit of a remix, but a lot of things that I've been doing over the years are similar. So we're just going to introduce some ideas around what we can do perhaps to incorporate more. And it's not necessarily that this is high performance in terms of high performance sport or high performance athletics or high performance business. It certainly goes into those areas. But what I want to really emphasize and make clear with this small presentation is that we're all kind of in that space to a certain degree. We're all under pressure. We're all under time pressure. Everything that we're doing with our lives at a personal level, if you're managing a personal life, if you're managing self-development, if you're looking at getting a coaching business off the ground, if you've got a side hustle, I've got some notes here, so I'll just be looking at these. If you've got kids, if you've got, you know, dependents, there's a lot going on for us now. We've got this crazy digital world where we're always available, we're always on demand. People are looking to always have access to us. So these normal natural boundaries that we've had in the past are breaking down and eroding. And we can see the effect that that's having on a lot of people. This constant availability, this constant pressure to meet expectations and be available and perform at our best. If we don't get the background stuff in line, then we're going to face burnout. And that's a very common thing that we're seeing now as well. A lot of people normalize a little bit more stress, a little bit more availability, a little bit more expectation meeting, a little bit more people pleasing. And this stuff starts to compound. It doesn't take long for a year to go by. My goodness, they fly by. And we're normalizing all of this kind of stuff. So the holistic high performance concept really comes from understanding our life, what our commitments are, what kind of demands we have to meet, and then stepping away from things that aren't serving us or aren't going to give us a return on the energy that we're spending. So the underlying principle of holistic high performance is something that I've called, and it's nothing new, you've probably heard this before, but aligned living, right? Aligned living. So what's that talking about? In brief, it's the different levels of self, and we can start at the body level, right? The physical level, physiology. We start our aligned living picture or our model with the body itself, the physical body. So if we are nourishing our body, if we are moving well and regularly, if we're staying hydrated, if we're eating the right kinds of things, then the body is a pleasurable and enjoyable thing to inhabit. If it's not, if we're not taking care of the body, then that's going to be draining our energy. That's going to be a cause of concern, a cause of thought, and it's going to be unsupportive. It's not going to be there as a dependable structure for us to rely on. It's going to be the opposite. It's something that we're going to be, like I said, worried about, concerned about. It'll be taking energy away. So that's kind of the base of the pyramid, if you like. That's the foundational aspect, is taking care of our physical bodies, right? So then we've got this feeling of intrinsic strength, intrinsic capability, reliability, durability, because that then, of course, works straight into the mind, which is the next level above the. And when we go into the mind, we'll go a lot more deeper in a second. But in brief, what are the fuels that the mind is running on? And so similar with the body, is it good fuel? Are you taking in good media? Are you reflecting on the world in a positive way? Are you allowing yourself to get taken away by pessimism or cynicism or those kinds of energies and getting sucked into wormholes and drama of the world? Or is the mind running on good fuel, optimism, positivity, etc.? And we'll go more into that very briefly. So that's the mind and body working together, right? They are aligned together. They support each other. The body's always listening to the mind. So if the mind is pessimistic and cynical, then the body is responding with adrenaline and cortisol, histamine, inflammatory neurochemicals, and that will then, of course, reinforce the experience of inhabiting the body as being uncomfortable, problematic, exhausting, etc. So those two pieces are the body and the mind, the fundamental pieces that are going to then allow the higher end stuff to come in. And the next one we've got after mind is work. What kind of work are we doing? What kind of profession and vocation are we giving our lives to? And I mean our lives in large letters, uppercase. This is a large part of where we spend our lifetime is in work. So it's always, as we're well aware in this kind of space, we're coaches, we're hypnotherapists, we're into this kind of developmental stuff. We're probably very much aware of these kinds of ideas, but most of our time is going to be spent in work. And with this underlying model, this concept of aligned living, is it aligned with you? Is it work that is meaningful for you? Is it work that is giving you a positive experience in life? Because we spend so much time at work, does it align with who you are and how you are and what you're about in your life? So that's an important piece that's often overlooked by most people, perhaps not so much us in this call, in this kind of space, but a lot of people, a lot of the clients we work with misunderstand and misapprehend the effect that those hours of work is having on them. And we see that in the statistics, the mental health, the burnout, the overwhelm, all of this kind of stuff. So work, meaningful work, at the right level, not too much, so we're not completely wrecked by it, but not too little, that we're under challenged, and we're not developing as professionals. So the work piece is enormous. Fourth piece in this aligned living pyramid is your social aspect, of course. So who are you spending time with? What kind of people are they? Are they good people? Are they supportive of your ideas? Do they celebrate your wins? All that kind of stuff. Or is it the opposite? Do they misunderstand you? Is it a kind of thing where you're keeping your mouth shut about your dreams and aspirations? So that kind of stuff matters, who you're spending time with. We're all aware of how important that is, and what kind of people you surround yourself with. That's enormous. And then, of course, also the activities that you do socially. What are you doing? Are you hiking or walking or going to yoga classes or whatever, that kind of constructive stuff? Or is it spent, hours of the weekend drinking alcohol and sitting around and that kind of thing? So again, the whole aligned living principle is it taking away from you, or is it giving to you? So the social stuff is important as well, of course. And then lastly, on this little aligned living model, is spirit, the pinnacle of the pyramid. Are you growing as a human? Are you evolving spiritually? Are you elevating yourself? Are you transcending the older substructures of your life? Are you actually evolving and growing? So that kind of stuff is important as well. So in brief, everyone, there's the aligned living model: body, mind, work, social, and spiritual. So think about that kind of stuff when we're zooming out into the helicopter view and taking a broad snapshot of our lives. The aligned living principle, right? Body, mind, work, social, spiritual. There are other, you can by all means include other things in that pyramid, but that whole aligned living thing is your total life experience, incorporated, integrated, aligned, and are they all working together synergistically rather than antagonistically? Are they all contributing positive life force in a specific direction? Do you have goals, and is that whole psycho-emotional, physiological, spiritual package moving in the right direction? Is it being aimed at something, or is it being scattered? Is it a shotgun approach to life? Hopefully it works sometimes. Wow, that worked. Not sure how it worked. Hope it works again. That kind of leaving things to chance. The aligned living model is all about bringing it together and incorporating all those parts of being. So that's the idea with the holistic high performance thing. We're all high performers. If we're juggling all of the things in our lives in the modern era, then these things are definitely worth taking into consideration. There's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of wiggle room, emotionally, mentally, environmentally, situationally, with this holistic high performance idea. The subconscious mind is a massively underutilized component of the mind. We're all very much stuffed and packaged into our conscious mind, which is our identity, our learned personality. Very, very high pressure environment in there. Who we think we are, our qualifications, our personality, who we describe ourselves to be as to others. But underneath that, beyond that, is this subconscious mind where there's a lot of space. So understanding how to access that, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the second piece, tweaks and changes to your mindset that you can make to access these kinds of this kind of subconscious mind aspect, the feeling of there being more space, more time, less pressure, and more space available to grow as a human being. So some just a couple of ideas with this holistic high performance stuff. So one thing that's worth taking down, I've got just a couple of points here that we can use. We don't have much time for the call, so I won't go too deep into it, but number one here, tweaks and changes to your mindset. Number one, do I need to worry so much? Okay, do I need to worry so much? And that can be what are the primary things that we're worried about? That could be the car, the finances, the world, the kids, possible futures, things I should have done in the past, things I wish I hadn't done, all these sorts of things. And you could summarize all of that kind of stuff, that worrying, with things that I have no control over. So what are the things that you're worrying about? What do you over worry about? It's that kind of concept. We've got all these programs, we've got all these browsers open in our minds. And if we have a default setting where we really, really worry about certain things, then that's going to drain energy constantly. Think about those defaults that are not giving you any return on investment for time and energy spent there. So if we're worrying about whatever it is, the world, the politics, the dawn of AI, the big change, the digital world, whatever it is, whatever we worry about, it doesn't have to be, specifics, but are we worrying too much? And if you take a hold of that question and analyze where that worry energy is going and take notes about that, and what is it I'm worrying about? Why am I worried about that? And then another good question that goes with that kind of stuff is, why do I need to worry so much? Why do I worry so much about that? And you can start to unpack that by journaling, by doing a little written exercise like that. And you'll come to see not only the worry pattern, but then you can look into other things that are drawing energy out of your system constantly. Maybe there's a tendency to, we've probably all heard of the idea of thought trains, right? We have one thought that might be problematic for us. And then if there's a mental habit to attach another thought to that, the thought train idea, and then another one, and then another one, and then the mind creates this overwhelming picture of whatever it is, overwhelm or procrastination or whatever the pattern is, to having this big drama in the mind. You can do the same exercise for that as well. Why am I overwhelmed by this? Where does that pattern begin? What are the components of my overwhelm process? So do you get the idea? It's about unpacking these modes of thinking, these default modes of thinking, where we can stem the tide of burning fuel for nothing. That's the key concept with this. And this is just one way of doing it. Do I need to worry so much? That's just a sort of entry level question into the whole concept of, where am I burning all this fuel? Why am I burning all this fuel? Can I do it differently? Okay, so that's a sort of 3-step process. Where's all this energy going? Why is it going there? And what's a better alternative? So there's a little 3-step process that we can take away and just start looking at where all of this energy is going. Because one of the concepts of holistic high performance is net energy gain. How many places am I leaking energy? Let me plug that leak with a different set of mindset tools, and let me nourish myself instead of drain myself. That's a key concept. So moving on from that, that's just that entry level question. What do I need? Do I need to worry so much about ... that kind of idea? And then the second piece to that is, what are the things I have ultimate control over? So there's the sort of antidote. There's the opposite to what's going on. Where's my energy going? A lot of that stuff goes out into things we can't control. That's about future possibilities, right? That whole negativity bias, Paleolithic hunter-gatherer piece of brain that we have. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? What's around the corner? I need to be prepared. This is the real world. This is all this sort of stuff. Yes, that's important, and we do our forecasting, and then we do our planning and all that sort of stuff. Good, nothing wrong. But if it's too much, and if it's excessive, and we overemphasize the things that can go wrong for us, then we've unbalanced our mind, and we're losing a lot of energy into those. It's just imagination. We're burning fuel for possibilities, future possibilities that nearly never happen. So just think about that. How much time and energy and critical cognitive resources are we spending on just imaginary possibilities? A lot, generally speaking, quite a lot. So that's another underlying concept, is take back that energy. Don't waste it. So the second piece here, what are the things I have ultimate control over? Okay, you've got ultimate control over your body, generally speaking, making it healthy, making it strong, etc. That increases your happiness, the pleasure of your life experience. The body's well. And where is the body? Your location, the environment the environments you go to. Maybe more nature time is a good idea. Maybe getting away from screens is a good idea. That kind of stuff. So location, your body, environment, important. And then other things you have ultimate control over. Your mind, of course, right? Your mind. And the first little sub point I've got to the mind is, how are you framing your experiences? If you're framing your experiences as being consistently problematic or antagonistic or negative or any of that kind of language, then of course, again, the body's going to have an inflammatory response. It's going to be stressed out because that's the way you're framing things. So think about how you're running your perception and how you're framing your experiences. Do they need to be framed as being problematic, negative, stressful? Can they be reframed as being actually not such a problem? No big deal. So play with that kind of framing stuff. And again, net energy gain. You might find this energy coming back to you that you normally would have been worrying about or pointing the finger or stressed out by it. Just don't do it. Have that neutral observation that comes. We'll talk about mindfulness in a second, but that kind of thinking where, wait a second, I don't really need to feel this way. That's the level of control you have with the mind. I can see it differently. Or, like I just mentioned, neutrality is a response as well. You don't have to have an opinion. You don't have to be engaged in that conversation. You can let everyone else do the stressing and the worrying and the drama and the pointing of fingers and all of that sort of stuff. You do have that third option, just remain neutral. And that can be very soothing. And again, you're staying contained. You're holding your energy. You're not letting it out at a habitual level, at an unconscious level for nothing. So think about that. How you're framing things. Couple more with the mind and what things do I have ultimate control over. So optimism, right? We have the choice from moment to moment. We can choose pessimism, cynicism, or we can choose positivity and optimism. And I know when I wrote that mindfulness course up, I looked at some studies on PubMed, I think it was, and they showed that optimism, all the body systems are optimized, funnily enough, when you're being optimistic. You lay down better memories, your recall is better, your eyesight is better, your digestion is better, your fascia is softer, is more pliable, the nervous system, the nerve fibers are longer, literally longer, so there's less tension in your body. You're not holding all this tension. So optimism, you can choose optimism at any moment of the day. That's the choice that we have with the mind. We don't have to run on these unconscious patterns from decades past. We do have the ability to upgrade our thinking. That can be done anytime. Next one we hear is we can choose intelligence. We can choose to be thoughtful, to consider things, to take a step back, use our rational thinking mind, as opposed to this reactivity that I've just been mentioning. So if we're running on habits, reactivity, they might be good ones, that's fine. But if they're not, if they're draining, and if they're causing, alarm, systemic inflammation, worry, negativity, fear, drama, that kind of thing, then we can think about things intelligently and step away from reactivity. So that's really coming back into ourselves. Again, this is part of what are the things that I have ultimate control over. This is the mind stuff. So to finalize that second point, in a nutshell, it's the question to ask yourself is, with all of these kinds of things, when you're going through your daily experience, am I creating friction? Am I creating friction point after friction point after friction point with my pessimism or my cynicism or my doubts or my fears or my worries or my framing of experiences is causing me to panic or to have more drama in my life? So friction, are you creating more friction through the day? And then the opposite side to the coin there is, am I creating more flow to the day? And again, that's another fundamental principle of aligned living and holistic high performance. The less friction you have through the day, the less micro conflicts you're having with yourself, the smoother the whole organism runs. The body runs better. As I said, the inflammation's down. If you're calmer, then anyone who's done the mindfulness course will understand serotonin's going through the bloodstream, dopamine's going through the bloodstream, anandamide's going through the bloodstream. And these are very, very protective, healing neurotransmitters. Awesome for brain structure, awesome for all the optic nerves, the visual cortex, your eyesight. Very, very protective, especially long-term for the body. So understanding that whole, am I creating drama? And then the histamine, the inflammation, the neural tension in the body, or am I creating flow, which is parasympathetic nervous system, soft, gentle tissues, agile, flexible brain, the ability to reframe experiences as you move along through the day to increase flow, to increase enjoyment, to increase happiness through the day, choosing through the day to support ourselves and talk ourselves through moments of friction in the day. So that's kind of, again, one of the underlying concepts is you're conserving your resources, you're conserving your body's neurotransmitters, its hormones, etc. Because the body's always listening to the mind. The body can see, of course, physically with the eyes, but the body is responding at a primal level, at a survival level. Oh, I'm under threat. I need to be prepared. I've got to have a little bit of cortisol. I've got to be ready to go. I need to launch this adrenaline thing. So if that's running at a small level all day long, then there's going to be a lot of wear and tear, a lot of aging. The nervous system's going to be burning up B12, burning up the myelin sheaths, all that sort of stuff. I won't go any further with that, but that's the whole idea, is to get the body in harmony with how you're thinking and create that flow state, because the flow state hormones and neurotransmitters are extremely supportive and they conserve all the tissues of the body. It slows aging, it slows neuro degeneration, all that sort of stuff. So very important. Okay, how are we doing it? I've got one more page here, one more, number 3. I'm going as fast as I
You're
can.
doing great. And no, please, there were 25 people on the call at the beginning. There's 25 people on the call, so don't you worry
Cool.
about
Okay.
one little bit,
Doing all right.
which is quite unique it's not unique here in this community. It's not, because we've got great people and great presenters, but
Yes,
you
100%.
could probably go for 3 hours and it'd be fine. So but let's not do that.
No.
Really quickly, Josh, before you carry
Yes.
on with your next bit, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Can you just give us like one example, like a story from your own life where you've had to make that decision to be optimistic? Because I think people, it's, they're like, yeah, I like the idea, but maybe it's just wishful thinking. But I know that you, me, a lot of people that we know have done that again and again. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking recently you had your accident, and
Yeah. I was
was a
just,
lot
that came
bigger.
straight to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot, that your accident was a lot bigger than I think people realize. But there must have been moments in the time when it happened, or afterwards,
Yeah.
or in recovery, where
Yeah.
you had to make a switch.
Oh yeah, big time. Okay, great, Ed. Appreciate that. So yeah, everyone, last year, the year before last now, so November, the end of November 23, I was flying my paraglider out here near Auckland in a place called Muriwai, beautiful coastal launch site. And due to a few factors that I should have been more on top of, I chose to fly a smaller wing, a faster wing, for the first time, through a flight pattern that I'd done many, many times before on a bigger wing. I won't bore you with all the technical details, but anyway, I did this flight pattern I'd done many times before. I came back over the launch area, preparing to turn and go back out to the beach and land down on the beach. Halfway through my turn, I realized I was too low to complete the 180 turn to go back out, and I impacted the ground about 90 degrees through that 180-degree turn, and really enormous impact, somewhere between 50 and 60 kilometers an hour. So broken back, I crushed my L4 vertebrae. I had my left hand out to sort of stop myself. Broke 2 bones in the left elbow. That elbow then went into my rib cage. I broke 2 of my ribs. But the main thing was this concussion. I had an enormous, like, you know, the brain, just like a water balloon, just wobbled all over the place inside the cranium, smashed into the top of the spinal cord. Big impact, huge impact. So that's what happened. Broken bones, concussion, and the concussion ended up going into post-concussion syndrome. So I had acute concussion symptoms for the better part of 7 months. So light sensitivity, fatigue, balance, coordination, speech, like all of the systems were really disrupted for a while. So to your point, Ed, the options lying there in bed, you know, in a reasonable amount of pain with the nerve damage, especially the back. The back was really sore. It might sound dramatic, broken back, but all it ended up being, I don't know if you can see, but between my fingers there, it was just a little bit of, like a bit of Weet-Bix. If you can imagine Weet-Bix, like they call it a wedge compression fracture. So the actual bone, it didn't really get that damaged, but the surrounding structures, the ligaments and the nerves and all that was really sore. So I was lying there in bed, and you know, I'm all about this kind of stuff and the mindset, and the body's always listening, and how can I, you know, what can I do with this situation? And I took it upon myself as a professional challenge. You know, as you've just heard, I'm really into this sort of stuff. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, as well as being into all this mind stuff. So I understand how to put a body back together, and I understand how to how I can use my mind to affect that, and make those take that healing into a more optimal state. So first thing that I really looked at, Ed, was intention, right? Intention. I made the very strong decision, even I think that evening or the next morning, that I'll come back stronger from this, and I'll use it as a you know, a kind of pivot point or moment in time where I'm going to extract all of the learning out of this and all of the experience. Because as I was going into the ground at the accident, my reptile brain, my binary brain, you know, it just blurted out paralysis or death. Like that was the last thought I had before I hit the ground, was things are going to go dark. You may not wake up from this. So I was, you know, prepared for that. And if you do wake up, the ground rush was so fierce that I was expecting, you know, I was expecting paralysis, because I landed on my bum. So the whole impact went straight up into my back. I didn't absorb anything to the legs. I landed on the harness, which has a big foam pad, which is designed to shatter on impact and absorb a lot of energy. But you know, it was so fast that a lot of energy still got up into my back. So I was prepared for that. But when I woke up, the first thing I didn't really pass out, but when I came to after the impact, I was lying there, and a big yell left my body. Very painful impact. But as soon as I could, you know, get my act together and realize where I was and what had happened, I wiggled my toes. So there was no paralysis. I moved my knees. I did some very gentle rotations. Okay, my neck, all that sort of stuff. Very conscious. So early on, the intention was, I'll come back stronger from this, and I'll use the time of rehab to kind of a similar concept to what we've just looked at now with these kinds of ideas, is how can I, with a limited, you know, physical structure and a massive concussion, what can I do, if you like, underneath the damaged part of the brain? I was still mindful, aware, conscious. I could meditate. I could feel the inflammation of my brain. I could feel the pressure inside the cranium. I did a lot of breath work to cycle out that inflammation. My mind wanted to make a big drama out of it because there was a lot of pain. My body's systems weren't functioning properly. My balance was gone. I would grab for things and not grab them. I would reach for the railing and miss it. So my depth perception was off. A lot of critical systems were offline. and that would evoke fear or doubt or concern about healing fully. And every time those ideas were presented by my mind, I would just take a pause and breathe and acknowledge it and go, okay, that's viable feedback. That's realistic. That's quite acceptable given the nature of the situation I'm in. And I would feel the feelings. I wouldn't suppress anything. I would pay attention. My body was shocked. I would allow all of that adrenaline to come through. It took a few weeks for the initial shock of that impact to leave my body. I was completely locked up. My body just seized up completely to look after that spine. But I always was breathing and intending to become stronger, come back better. And I hit the rehab really hard and came back. And so long story short, I think it was 12 months. Yeah, it was 12 months later. I'd completely mended. All the numbers were good. And I used a lot of these principles that we're talking about today and others to allow the trauma and the drama and the memory of that ground rush, that impact, that last second, coming into a moment of life and death. I understood that there's great value in that. So I really did a lot of journaling. I allowed my heart to expand into what truly matters for me. My value system started to shift. And I took a lot of steps to simplify things. And a lot of ideas around this holistic high performance were born then. What was I leaking energy into? What was I overly concerned about? I trusted my body. I really connected to the power of the body's ability to heal. I nourished myself like crazy, etc., etc. So I hope that's an answer to your question, Ed. It was very much an educational journey, and you often hear this kind of thing, and it's a little bit crazy, perhaps. But I'm actually quite thankful for the accident. It was I framed it as a enormous opportunity to do some deep work, which I did, and I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, that's an awesome demonstration of how you've used your own, what was it the expression I heard once? You've eaten your own dog food. You don't just talk about it.
You put it that way.
Used it in
sure.
You've used it in the worst circumstances. But if you can do that, I think people can trust you that they can use this for anything.
Yes, I agree. Quite right.
Yeah, but carry on, Josh, because you had something left to share with us.
Yeah, look, very quickly. I know I'm burning through the time. It's difficult to condense these big ideas, but the last one there, just quickly. I won't go too deep into the ideas, but mindfulness and peak performance strategies. Right, we've talked a little bit about that already. So to continue with these kinds of concepts, mindfulness, self-awareness. Where does the mind go when it's not on task? That can be a question that you can ask yourself. And this is really, again, looking at the default thinking. Where does your mind default to when it's not on task? When the reins of the horse are let go, where does the horse go to? That kind of thinking. And it's really good to pay attention to that, because that can tell you where there may be work that needs to be done in terms of the underlying structures of the mind. So as we touched on before, is it optimistic? Is it cynical? Is it constructive? Is it deconstructive? Is it supportive of you personally? What's your own story? What are you telling yourself? Really take note of that kind of stuff. So that would be the first piece, with the self-awareness, mindful, more introspective, more self-aware kind of exercise. Where do I go when I'm not on task? What does my thinking do? Again, do I worry? Am I overly concerned about this? Is it proportionate? Do I need to be this worried, etc.? And then, if we've done the mindfulness course, or we've come to these kinds of ideas from other models, other approaches, what's a better alternative? We can write that down. I'm really worried about this. Okay, that's acceptable. That's fair. That's suitable. That matches the event or the situation. But do I need to worry about it? Do I need to exhaust myself with possibilities? Or why don't I spend that same amount of energy that goes nowhere by worrying and stressing and dramaing and you know, creating unhappiness, what's a better alternative? And we can write a little script for ourselves. We can write a little affirmation. We can write a little prompt or a cue. And instead of the mind going down that drama, worry, fear pathway, we can write a new script for ourselves. So when we get triggered, or when we're in that environment or that situation, and we're reminded about, oh, I need to worry about this, the default mode mind goes, oh, I need to worry about this, and it rushes over there to worry. We go, wait a second. That's the mindfulness piece, the self-awareness piece. There's that old pattern there. Let me activate my new going over here. I can draw it into this more constructive, upgraded, friction-free, self-nourishing script. Instead of this waste of resources, I can now use those same resources to build myself up. So have a little think about those ideas. Where does my mind go when I'm not on task? What are the defaults? Procrastination, overwhelm, fear, worry, doubt, whatever it is, disbelief. Take a hold of that, write it down. If you write it down, it depressurizes it and it makes it objective instead of subjective. You get it out of your brain, you can start analyzing it objectively instead of feeling it subjectively and being overly concerned about it. And I'll never get it together, and I'm frustrated. If it's out of your brain and down on paper, you've taken 10% of the pressure out of your conscious mind, conscious level thinking, and it's out. You've created space in your mind. You've brought the subconscious mind higher up into it for it to be able to be accessed. So get things out of your head. I love journaling for that reason. So where does your mind go when it's not on task? The defaults. What's a better alternative? We write them down. When we start repeating those alternatives and we draw that energy into something that's constructive, something that builds for us. So that's a little hack, a little mindfulness thing. Moving on quickly. Another strategy for peak performance is 20-minute walks. 20-minute walks are amazing. So simple. Nature time, leave the phone at home, free association, the mind is uncoupled. It's like that shower scenario where we get a lot of really cool thoughts when we're in the shower. Same kind of idea, same kind of principle. 20-minute walks are amazing. I leave the phone at home, but I take a notebook because I get some awesome insights, some awesome thoughts, things about content for work, things about something I can do with a client, some kind of thing I can include in writing a program for a client, whatever it is. 20-minute walks. That's a really, really achievable. You don't have to pay for it. Available anytime. They can be a part of a structured day, first thing in the morning, after lunch, whatever it is, or just whenever you feel like things are getting too much and there's too much pressure building. Go for a walk. Goodness, enormous. I'm more of a go for a run, go to the gym kind of guy. But recently, the walking, that was part of the rehabilitation stuff, was going. And that gentle for the brain to be gently, not running, but walking, gently moving up and down inside the cranium. That's very medicinal for the brain. There's a pumping action that goes on in there, and it's very, it's like it exercises the brain structure and creates an outflow of waste products. So walking's awesome for the brain. That could be part of why you feel so good. So go for walks, everyone. Fantastic. Couple more pieces before we wrap up. Hydration. That's another little performance thing. Are you hydrating? And what are you hydrating with? We've probably all heard, a 10% lack of hydration has enormous systemic effects on the body. So cognitive abilities, sleep-wake cycles, memory, all that sort of stuff, recall, they're all affected by the electrolyte balance. That's your brain function, your nervous system, your digestive system. So have a look at that. Just another small piece with the high performance stuff. Are you hydrated? So you've got a little bit of walking is going to oxygenate your system. That's going to make you feel better. You're going to have a higher vibration. Electrolytes, you're taking care of your micronutrients. That's your brain function, your nervous system. And then amino acids, good quality proteins. Those are huge assist for everything's amino acids. The whole structure is built from protein. So are you taking in enough protein? Have a look at that. Good quality proteins. It's going to repair the body better and satiate you. You won't need so much of the other stuff. And then lastly, Ed, we've got gut health. We've probably all heard of gut health. That's a real trend at the moment. So again, but think about that. This is this basic. Remember, the body was the first row of stones in the pyramid of aligned living. Right, get the body right, and everything else is easier. My goodness, it's just a fact of physiology. Get the gut health right. That's your immune system. That's the vagus nerve is involved with that. That's toning the entire nervous system. So I'll leave you with that, guys. There's a lot more that goes into the holistic high performance idea, but that in brief is a synopsis of it all. Body, mind, social, work, spiritual, using your mind to understand where the energy of your life, literally your life, is going. Is it good? Is it right? Is it supportive? Is it correct for who and how you are and where you want to take your life? If it's not, then you can do things about that, even without changing the outside world, your environment, your vocation, all that sort of stuff. There's an enormous amount of space in here to create new pathways in the mind and to take the stress, slowly, consistently out of your life and create more of that flow, positivity, genuine happiness, physical well-being, sense of self, identity, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, there we go, Ed. That's a very, very felt like a high-speed introduction to holistic high performance. My website is up there. I'm constantly putting new things on it. So joshroche.com. That's a bit of a new rebrand on there. So there we go, team. I appreciate your time. And Ed, back to you, man.